Hello and welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. And this week was a very bullish week, so let's not waste any time with the intro. I can stuck in right away. News number one are the crazy price predictions and the overall very bullish sentiment we are seeing currently in Bitcoin. We had prices floating around from 122,000 up until 700,000 until the end of the year by no one less than actually Larry Fink from BlackRock. And there are a few reasons as to why a lot of these analysts and a lot of these, let's call it Wall Street personas, see Bitcoin suddenly as such a positive development. Number one is the halving cycle. A lot of people are now anticipating that the usual stuff kicks in. 6 to 9 months after the halving cycle, you usually see a price development because after all, demand is getting bigger while supply is getting smaller. And you also saw, obviously, the institutional adoption. Whether that be with the ETFs, I have some news for that later on, or with companies as Strategy, MetaPlanet, new public companies, maybe like GameStop or even 21 Capital, who are really showing that you can use Bitcoin as a financial product, whether it be as a strategic treasury reserve asset, or the way Strategy is doing it, for example, through derivatives and through financial products to be able to raise more Bitcoin and increase Bitcoin per share. All of these things add to a crazy amount of interest, and that obviously has also been reflective in all of these price predictions. And speaking of the ETFs, they really had a roller coaster up until, let's call it April, but throughout April, we've seen some hints that they are actually doing quite well. We did see a lot of over $1 billion weeks, at one point even an over $3 billion week, something we haven't seen since November last year. And this week especially, we've seen a lot of keen interest. Now, with the ETFs, it's always hard to decide. Is it really because of institutional adoption and interest to use Bitcoin more, going away from a speculative object to more of an alternative asset? Or is it price-driven? Nonetheless, if it's price-driven, we did see another Bitcoin comeback. We're over a $100,000 mark now per Bitcoin. Or if it really has to do with institutional adoption, you could see a lot of more push by various companies. Nevertheless, the ETF investors are still showing interest in Bitcoin, and we will need to wait and see if they are continue to making that interest, or if they are actually also jumping ship maybe and realizing, hang on, I can own the ETF, but I can also own the asset outright. And that obviously would be a keen push for Bitcoin itself. And last, but definitely not least, we also had some news out of New Hampshire. They became the first state in the US to now sign into law that they will use Bitcoin as a reserve asset. They will allocate up to 5% of their funds. They haven't started yet, and it's unclear yet whether it be Bitcoin only or other digital assets, or if they either going to invest through the ETFs or buy proper Bitcoin. However, with that announcement, they really front-ran Arizona. They had the opportunity last week. The governor had the bill on her table and she decided to not sign it and to not approve it. However, with now seeing New Hampshire, there is a strong dynamic there that Arizona will follow pursuit as well. Ironically, there's also an historical context to this. New Hampshire is the state where Bretton Woods and the agreement was actually founded and signed and written into a contract. And this really kickstarted the whole event of the fiat currency. And now seeing that this was also the state that is adopting Bitcoin, it's kind of ironic that we have all of that happening in one place. It remains to be seen if that is also a push for other states and potentially a federal national Bitcoin reserve. However, for now, New Hampshire is doing a great job and they're actually front-running all of the other states. So congratulations to everyone involved there. And with that, we're at the end of This Week in Bitcoin. You know the drill. If you've got questions, feedback, or just want to say hello, leave me a comment below the video, and I look forward to seeing you next week again.